anything, or no? Just waiting. There we go. All right.
We'll get 30 seconds.
Okay.
Since these guys want us to use atomic time. 10 seconds.
T minus.
All right, Greenwich Mean Time. Okay, I'll sit
Okay.
down.
Yep.
Okay, I call to order the meeting of the East Amwell Township Committee.
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee has been provided by a notice sent to the official newspapers of the Township, posted to the Township website, posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, and filed with the Township Clerk as required by law on January 6, 2025. Ms. Casper Bloom?
Here.
Ms. Enton?
Here.
Mr. Nardi?
Here.
Mr. Dendis?
Here.
Mayor DePiero?
Here, everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everyone. In terms of announcements, of course, you have it in writing. Let me just mention two things. On Grit Yard, someone had contacted staff during the week about that, and it makes me just want to remind folks, don't forget, before you go for any services or attend events, please make sure to check the website. In the Grit Yard, the website tells you, what day and what times things are open. So we don't want anybody to inconvenience by showing up if it's not open. On the rescue squad, also I wanted to call out that they have I guess they call it the 2025 Defender Service Award finalist category, and folks can vote to help them try to win a customized Defender 130 vehicle. We included in the agenda, please vote for the rescue squad. You can do it by the information that Linda's included in the agenda. I think those are the two things I wanted to call in particular. So at this time,
vote every day from any email you have, every day until the 19th. So it's like voting for American Idol. So it's not just one and done, it's a daily thing.
okay, at this time we are open to the public. Yes.
I'm here to talk about traffic safety.
Yes.
Although the recent accident involving...
Excuse me, for the record, just make sure.
Oh, yes, Frida
say
Ralph,
you're Frida
Linville
Ralph
Road.
and you're a resident.
Okay. Although the recent accident involving a Medivac on Route 31 close to Rocktown Road was no fault of the driver, there is an accident there every week or two, and a couple of times a month. I think the speed limit is 45. I'm not quite sure. And no matter which lane I'm in before it merges into one, cars just speed around me and whatever right before it closes, and it's very dangerous. I wanted to point out how 31 operates in Route 31 in Pennington. And a few miles before you get to the heavy shopping area, there's a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit for 3 or 4 miles. And then the speed limit down to 35. But then on the other side of the shopping area, before the circle, there's a flashing yellow or orange for 31 and a red the other way. And so I think that possibly, I know it's a state road, but I think if the statistics for all the accidents that happen and some pressure from the township committee, that perhaps we could get something done to make that safer, either reducing the speed limit or putting the flashing light. Thank you.
And what's the intersection there?
When you're going south from town on Route 31, you get off of 202 or you come through town. It's 2 lanes. And then maybe a half a mile before Rocktown and 31, it mushes down into 1 lane. And that's part of what the hazard is. And there's a diagonal road, there's crossroads. It's one of the most dangerous intersections in town.
It's when you go up the big hill south.
Yeah, up the hill.
Got it, thanks. All right, well, maybe Mike, do you mind getting some information about that and seeing? Okay, thank you. All right, thanks for that comment. Anyone else, please? Did you want to answer any questions, by the way, on the rescue squad? I don't know if that's why you're here.
No.
No, oh, sorry,
Talking
okay.
about Dunkard Church, I'm just waiting to hear.
Oh, okay. I saw the rescue squad jacket, and I know
Oh,
Robert.
no, I'm on the
Robert.
auxiliary.
Oh, okay. Robert said someone might come to answer questions, so I was
Oh,
just
no.
gonna invite you in case. Okay. Seeing no one else for comment, going once, going twice. Okay, so without objection, we're closed to the public at this point. I'm just gonna make a note here. Okay, approval of minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review, or I should say, yes?
Yep.
Any changes, suggestions, questions? All right, seeing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's unanimous. Special discussions, so just a couple of items. Also on the subject of traffic safety, traffic calming. An update on no stopping, no standing signs. We've been working with DOT to get some signs in Ringo's Village on 179 northbound near the firehouse. The update is that the DOT commissioner has approved the plan for signage that was worked out by the DOT traffic division. They've officially sent out notice to the township, state police, county clerk, and county sheriff. And the DOT is now doing internal preparations for fabrication and installation of the signs. When we get that done, that signage is going to restore sight lines and enhance safety for both drivers and pedestrians in Ringo's Village. Affordable housing update, just a brief point. As we had previously announced, we sought out and obtained a grant from the Department of Community Affairs to work on our affordable housing obligations. The update for residents is we are now sending our new deputy clerk, who will be our representative on these issues, to affordable housing training. And this training is paid for by the grant that we obtained, which is going to help us with training and experts and professionals, so we can explore, because we have to, by state law, meet affordable housing numbers, how we can do that in a manner that keeps our town rural. So we're pleased with that we have our new deputy clerk on board, and that she's going and performing this function, and also very happy that we've got funding to do that. Mark, thanks for working on getting that to all happen. Website upgrades. Update here is, as we previously announced, we sought and obtained a grant from the county to upgrade our website. We're now working on that upgrade. So I'd say if anyone has suggestions that they want to send to us about things they'd like to see on the website, please contact Mark Brunel, our township administrator. We're going to be coordinating to make sure our website is easier to use, has the kind of information our residents need, that it's accessible to all residents, that it is going to make sure to focus on all the great reasons for visiting East Amwell as a tourist, enjoying all the great things that we have. So that is a work in progress, and we're pleased that we're moving forward on that. Okay. Let's go to number 10 on the agenda, ordinance number 25-21 for second reading, public hearing. Linda?
An ordinance approving the granting of an easement to the Township of East Amwell from the estate of Irma Parsons, permitting the township to perform work and access the property known as 46 Snydertown Road, East Amwell, New Jersey.
Okay, as folks may remember, this is an ordinance that came out of the application to the planning board that was there. It involved the granting of an easement to the township, which would give the township the ability to perform work, access the property. These are typical kind of easements that we need in a township to perform the kind of services that we need. So at this time, we're open to the public for comments on that ordinance adoption for that easement. If anyone would like to be heard or make a comment? Okay, seeing none, without objection, we're closed to the public. Any discussion by Township Committee members before we proceed? If not, may I have a motion to adopt ordinance 25-21?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes. Item 11 on the agenda, ordinance number 25-22, first reading introduction. Linda?
An ordinance of the Township of East Amwell, County of Hunterdon, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 92-83 entitled Zoning Map of the Code of the Township of East Amwell to adopt the 2025 zoning map for the township.
All right, this ordinance is being adopted to amend the East Amwell zoning map. That's part of the township code. The reason is that we need to have it reflect our current zoning. We, on the township committee, have undertaken a couple ordinances recently, including adopting the historic districts, and we would like to show those on the map so that people can observe them. Let's see. I do want to say one issue was raised by you, Bev, in terms of, when we approved the adoption of historic districts to match the federal districts, we had some discussion that the ordinance itself also has some references to things that are essentially things not shown on the map. For example, I think properties that were structures created before
Before 1941.
41
So those would be like small individual that would be too much to put
on a map,
each
right?
on a map.
Yeah, so in thinking about this, I think what we should probably do is try to put those on a map, because it would be difficult and
Yes.
hard to see. But rather, the map will show visually what the local district, where the local districts are. And then, of course, the ordinance is in effect to address structures before 1941, because you couldn't really see them on the map anyway. So I just wanted to get back to you on.
Yeah, so would we have a note on there identifying that there's more that aren't shown on the map?
I guess we
Just
could
to
ask.
avoid
We could ask Frank
confusion?
about that, but the problem is, I think it's a different function, right? So I'm not sure if you were brought into this, Frank, but basically, obviously we have to keep our map updated so visually you can see, and we adopted that ordinance with historic districts, and they're delineated, in red on this proposed new map. Beth's question to me was, well, the ordinance also talked about structures that existed before 1941, and seems to me like they're already covered by the ordinance itself, and that the map wouldn't try to show individual structures throughout the
I
township.
haven't seen that with zoning maps, putting those, I think that's a separate.
Separate function,
separate
right?
function.
So we wouldn't need to reference the ordinance that there's more that aren't shown on the map and that you should consult the ordinance?
I don't think we have to.
Okay. I mean, it was just a question, because then it's also a reminder to planning board, if there's a note on there, that there's a second step that they have to take
It
for the
wouldn't hurt
local
to put
districts.
something to that effect.
Yeah, could we put like the lot and block number,
Sure.
under an asterisk or something like
Well,
that?
but it's
Doesn't-
not,
You wouldn't wanna
it's
do
not just
all of
one
them.
thing, so it's really, it could be, I don't know, I'm making this up, but it could be
Yeah.
120
Oh.
different,
Yeah,
like,
Gotcha, okay.
so you don't want it,
Just
a
make
hut,
notation
I
that
think.
yeah,
It's not fully inclusive of all the structures.
Yeah, maybe just say,
Yeah.
well, this is what's shown visually, also refer to the ordinance,
Yeah.
blah, blah,
Okay.
blah.
Yeah.
So, so I'd say, in terms of, when I ask for a motion, maybe, you guys can consider whether the motion would include that kind of asterisk that Frank could write up, for clarity purposes. So, could I have such a motion?
Okay.
so moved,
I'll second
Yeah.
that with
Second out.
Frank's.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay,
with the notation.
with the notation, okay, perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Linda, we don't need,
We don't need a
roll
roll
right?
call, no.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks for that, and thanks, Bev, for asking the question. I think clarity is a good thing for our residents. Okay, so that's 11. 12 on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. Number of items are listed there. May I have a motion to approve resolutions 2025-132 through 2025-135?
So moved.
Oh, Jen, second.
Okay. All right, Jenna and Al, anything to mention, folks, before we start here? I'll just mention one with regard to 2025-132. This is a resolution that rejects a grant that we got from Mountain Road Section 1, so that residents understand the bids that we got came in over budget.
I think you're rejecting the bids, not the grant.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I misspoke, yes.
Yeah, it's just for not rejecting the grant.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
We're trying to preserve the
Yes.
grant by getting an extension.
Yes.
And, for 6 months. And in that time, by rejecting the bids that we got, we're gonna try to redo the bids in a manner which will try to bring them in on budget. So this will give us the time to do that, so. Okay, may I have a motion to approve those resolutions?
You know what? I'm just realizing
Yes.
that I didn't add on the resolution to extend the grant. The, Rob was gonna file for an extension.
We don't need to do it, do we?
Yeah, we do.
We do?
He sent me the resolution, I don't, hold on a second. If you wanna go ahead and then we can go
No,
back
that's
to
okay,
it.
we can double check. Cause if so, I'd ask Frank whether we can do that as part of 2025-132.
What is it you wanna do?
So, Linda's
So we-
saying, 2025-132 rejects the bids and talks about our extension request of 6 months that we're making to the state. That should probably be part of that resolution,
It can be.
right?
be
We can
two
add that,
parts.
okay.
Yeah, he sent me a separate one, but,
And that makes sense that, to make it clear, so I would say, in this motion, the motion would include we're amending 2025-132 to also include as part of that, that we are approving our township engineer requesting a 6 month extension from the state, for the grant that we received for that road segment. Everybody clear on that?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll make that motion since I just said it. Could I get a second?
okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let me just do a roll call. Ms.
Yes.
Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes, all right, and Linda, thanks for catching that. Okay, item 13 on the agenda, Resolution 2025-136. This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a memorandum of agreement between the Department of Community Affairs, Division of Housing and Community Resources, and East Amwell Township. This is an agreement that will be between the DCA and East Amwell. It relates to that grant that I talked about previously, the NJ Homes Launchpad, where we're getting $50,000 for 2 years. I guess each for 2 years, right, Mark? Each for 2 years in order to get training for our deputy clerk to perform those functions. And also, I believe this piece is to have us work with professionals to work on affordable housing in a manner that keeps it rural here. May I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-136?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes. Item 14, does anyone on the dais have an item of new business to raise at this time? No? Okay. So let's go to approval of bills, item 15 on the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the October 9th, 2025 bills of the evening?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Ms. Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes. Item 16, approval of administrative reports. May I have a motion to approve the administrative reports?
I can move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's passed unanimously. Correspondence, folks have there. We're up to 18, open to the public. Without objection, we're open to the public for all comments.
Yeah, I knew that.
All comments, not just related to the agenda.
This is the last time, right?
It is.
I just wanted to know, I don't, the hazardous stuff that you got from the correspondence about hazardous stuff from the DEP. What's that, do we have places in East Amwell?
Did you say you reviewed that?
I looked at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one
It
address.
It was on your
It was an
OneDrive.
underground storage tank.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
homeowners.
It's on the
It
OneDrive.
was on John Ringo Road and
Oh,
under.
nothing big,
No.
just a single family home. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there,
We get these a lot.
with hazardous, yeah, anytime someone has an old fuel oil tank or something underground, if there's any kind of leak or concern, it
Yeah, I
gets
know that.
reported. Okay. Well, I just mean for members of
Do we
the
have that
public.
printed, Linda?
Yes, I do somewhere, and it's on the
Yeah.
website.
Yeah, it's on
Yeah.
it's on
Yeah.
OneDrive.
Yeah.
I didn't print that one, but
Okay, yes.
if you want a copy.
Francis?
Monday. Francis Gavian, longtime resident. Can you clarify what the $22,342.80 for a bicycle grate's for? That's a lot of bicycles. It's on your bill list.
Did you say bicycle grates? That has to do with stormwater. They got to change.
Bicycle grates?
They call them bicycle safe grates. So you know the old grates when I was a kid, they were like
Well, they-
wide, and the bicycle tire could get stuck.
Get
They're
stuck.
no longer like that. This is all part of the stormwater.
So this is all for bicycles or for stuff
No,
going down the storm drain?
stormwater, but I think they call them bicycle safe grates. Is that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure where
That's
you're
what it
reading
is.
that. Is that what we call
It's
it
on
on
the
there?
bill list,
So that when
bicycle grate.
so when you do stormwater, you don't get people injured when they bike over them.
Okay. Just a general comment, if when you're doing these, you have a lot of references to bulk POs or whatever, if some more detail or clarity could be added, especially on the more expensive side of things, there's a lot. I could figure out the PO for Whittlesley and clothing allowance or stuff like that, but there's a whole lot of blanket POs. And I suspect people might wanna know, well, what's under that blanket? Just a question.
Is that on the detailed version?
It's in the
Jeff?
it's in the one that's in the back.
Cause
That's the detail that has every, payment, the power sweeping, street sweepings, that's clear. Advanced animal control blanket PO, that's intuitive. But when you get down to, the canning group, 2025 blanket PO for 500, that's kind of a huh? And then
That's
there's a
just
bunch
his
of
monthly
others.
fee every month. He's 6,000 a year, 500 a month.
And what is he?
The QPA, our QPA.
Okay, well then that might be a thing to say, QPA.
Yeah, I
Just
don't know
a comment,
Yeah,
it's
how does
just,
the
It's
report
ho-
get generated?
it's
Is that-
however
is
you
that how
like
it's-
us entering the invoices.
it's how you
so-
enter the invoices, and the invoices get entered in a general kind of a shorthand kind of way, cause you know what you're talking about. But on this side of the microphone, there's a little bit of, huh? And
So
just
Pat,
wondering.
You can correct me, Linda, if I'm wrong, but I think she calls it a blanket PO because that's an amount not to exceed. Is that?
She
Would
sets
that
the
be
blank
accurate?
for all of our professional services. She sets a blanket at the beginning of the
Right.
year, and for whatever the not to exceed amount is, and then she draws from that.
Right.
So
That's
it's
what I figured.
yeah.
but
So
the way it's
basically, the
printing on
monthly
this
bill for
report-
Sean is 500 a month,
Yeah.
and she pays that each month.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, maybe Jenna or Mike, maybe you could at least ask Yoleka a question if and how she puts stuff in is, I don't know the answer, but is there a way to do it so when she enters it and generates a report, it might show clearer?
Was there more on there that we were
yeah,
unclear
there's
about?
like, who is WH Wolf Services? They've got a blanket PO and it's $1,200.
Soil testing.
Solar testing.
Soil testing. So that's a kind of thing, like when you put in your bank for bill pay, you can have a nickname or you put something in there, so there's so-and-so account, and then it's like, credit card or something else like that. Just a little more clarity. It's a request, it's all of that. And once again, I'm gonna be asking, how you doing with paying the rescue squad? I mean, they've got this award, people are going all over, there's a great little movie out there, and they need more money than I can, even though I've written them a check, very recently.
So-
Going back to Claude, and that's 30 years, they've been given something to the squad.
So I reminded them today, actually, that we had said for us to take up the request, they need to provide us that documentation I requested several months ago. And so I sent that reminder out to them, so.
Well, have you answered their correspondence or some of the other things? Have you talked to anybody? Because this is going on 3 years now.
I don't know what you mean by going on 3 years. What I'm saying is,
23, 24, 25. There's been nothing giving to the squad, and those 3 calendar years than they were budgeted.
Well, I mean, it's not a debate. What I'm saying to you is, they need to provide information. I made that clear at township committee meetings and by writing them a letter. They still haven't provided that, so I reminded them today when they were asking that question of when can we review it. And I said, don't forget, you need to provide the information. I sent it to Rob O'Connor because we've been corresponding. So you can check with him.
Oh, I will.
Encourage them to submit it. So
Yeah.
that we can, because we need those things before we can consider.
But it's also a nonprofit. They get tax filings, they get audited or things like that. How much into a private organization's business do we need to get? I mean, there's all this work that's done with the Sauerlands or with the environmental, and we don't get into their bills or payments or things like that. Or the fire company. Now, the fire company gets funded by a fire tax. The squad doesn't get diddly from anybody. And I don't know that other municipalities have to find out how much detail and scrutiny goes into the Raritan Valley Rescue Squad that you think so much of. But
But
these
thank
are
you for
local
your
people
comments.
serving local people. And the last comment is, Ringo's is probably gonna be a little nuts tomorrow and definitely Saturday because we lost Dave Bond at the age of 84. And there's a wake open house at his farm that's on 579. And they might, on the funeral Saturday morning, and there may be a whole lot of tractors or traffic or whatever coming down here to Boss Road, to the Union Hill Cemetery for that. And at least personally, some gratitude and condolences to the Bond family. And I would ask that you might consider that, been a member of the fire company, Ag Development Board for 60 years, those kind of third generation farmer. They're dying off, and it, you know, we really need to acknowledge the loss of a truly gigantic figure, at least from my perspective, and a really good, decent person. And it's a loss to all of us. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Hi.
Hello. Terry Mitchell, longtime resident of East Amwell, Dunker Church Road. First of all, after the September 11th meeting, immediately, Jason Silverthorne and his team mowed East Amwell's side of that road. So I just wanted to publicly thank you for that and help with the hazard on that particular road. But wanted to know about, respectfully requesting the status on the trees. Jenna, you had mentioned that you wanted to contact the road residents, so I'm not sure where we are in that.
The property owner was contacted, was known of the concerns that residents have in the township. And that was what was conveyed.
Okay. What about the contract between Delaware Township and East Amwell? Are you still at a standstill? Something has to be done. I don't know what to say, but trees are falling. Not since the last time you've had your meeting, but it's still dangerous. I don't know what else to.
So I rode with Jason Saturday morning. We went out and looked at all the roads that essentially will be coming back to us. I think one of the problems that may be not clear is these trees are on private property, right? We as a township can't cut them down. Are you
Okay.
aware of that?
No, nobody said that to me, but they're looming over the road, so
I totally get
don't
that.
know.
I totally get that. So what Jenna did is tried to contact the property owner to see if they'll take care of it. But there's nothing empowers us to send anybody on private property to cut that tree down. Is it frustrating? Yes, absolutely. But we're trying to implore the resident, the owner of the property to do something about it is what the best approach we can take.
When a tree does go down, it is Delaware Township that comes out and cleans it up.
If it falls in the road, yes. If it's on a Delaware Township road, they will clean it up. And
Yep.
if it's on an East Amwell road, we will clean it up. Kind of sounds probably nuts from where you're standing. Like, how does that happen? But we can't go on private property and cut a tree down.
Okay.
If it was in the power line, we've had good luck having trees taken down with our contacts at the utilities. But none that doesn't appear that any of these trees impede the utility, unless there's some I missed.
Okay.
But I see the dead trees. I'm well aware. I did not know you didn't realize the township can't go on private property to cut down the trees.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't aware of that, but if it's a danger to the people living either on East Amwell or Delaware Township side, someone's going to get hurt. I don't know what else to say. And if you contacted them, I guess that's all we can do for now. And just hope and pray every time we drive by those trees that nothing happens. So.
Yeah, I mean, he showed me the trees of concern and the roads of concern, and I think the contact is probably going to be opened up hopefully again with Delaware Township. I hope we can get back on track and
I hope so too.
discuss that. Now I have an understanding of this condition of the road. Like, what are we talking about? I'm not I didn't go to school to pave roads, so now I have a good understanding to have an intelligent conversation about it.
Okay, I appreciate that. And again, I want to thank Jason and his team. They did a
He
great
showed
job.
me all the work that he did, and,
They
yeah.
went pretty high up, and all of the weeds that are coming out over the road, all gone. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that.
You're welcome. Let me just say that, in that regard, even though we're not getting our neighborly township to perform that duty that's required, we wanted to have our DPW do it to try to take care of you and our other neighbors, so, just so you know. And I thank Mike and Jenna for both working on this. Okay. Didn't you go already?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
having
well,
just been down in North Carolina dealing with neighbors' trees coming onto my property, writing and notifying the owner of the property that they have a tree that is a danger or whatever, puts them on notice, and if it falls and hurts or hits somebody, their insurance won't cover them, and they're the ones that are liable. And that, I believe, is the same thing in New Jersey. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes?
Tree, your problem. Must notice.
Andrea Bonnet, East Amwell Township resident. I'm just going to read a collection of emails that I started in June. There are a lot more that go back before that, but this is the most recent one. Here's one from June 11th to me from a tech-savvy friend. Attached are images that I obtained by using Google Earth Pro. This is related to Ridge Road, of course. I forgot to mention the title of it. Sorry.
I think, seems she's asking you to speak
Oh,
louder.
okay. Sorry. Start again. This is a topic of Ridge Road satellite imagery from a tech-savvy friend. Attached are images that I obtained, this is my friend, of course, not me, by using Google Earth Pro. I was able to go through the satellite imaging history over the years, and the attached pictures span from 2002 to 2023. When you open the attached image, the pictures span, the date of when that satellite image was taken is on the bottom of the image. Hope these help. Second one, I sent this batch of images to the mayor, to the clerk, and to the zoning officer with this.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, and you can have your time and everything, but if you're talking about what I think you're talking about, did you know some action was taken at the end of August?
No.
Some action was taken at the end of August.
Well,
Yeah,
No,
so
yeah.
there was,
Notice of
I
violations.
apologize, I thought you were made aware of
Yeah.
that, there was,
Notice of violations went out.
Yep.
To the affected landowner.
Yeah.
And I think they gave him deadlines.
well, here we go. All right. Anyway, this, my comment when I sent you all the Google Earth photos, these Google Earth Pro photos prove that there was no barn after I had the old one demolished with a permit in 2005. After 2016, various accessory buildings came and went. 2016 is when the new owner bought the property, but none with any zoning or construction approvals, permits, or inspections. The barn that Krista Parsons approved being turned into a house, therefore, did not officially exist. There's a survey on the file that shows the owner claiming that he was turning a barn into a house, but there was no legal barn. Furthermore, zoning officer Parsons, this is again going back some years, insisted the house be built at the same site of the former burned down house. But these photos prove there was nothing there from the time the house burned down in February 2020 to this day. All right, let's see here. Okay, then we have from the zoning officer to me, on June 12th. Thank you for the information. I will review all the information submitted, but I do have to ask one question. what are expecting for an outcome. That's verbatim what it says. I cannot make him remove the structure. I would require him to get a zoning permit for the current structure. I guess I don't fully understand what you are expecting the town to do. Please advise. Then this is my email of Friday, June 13th to the zoning officer. In response to your question about what I want you to do, I am expecting the town, including, quote unquote, the town, including the West Amwell construction official, to uphold our local, county, and state laws related to zoning and construction. The West Amwell construction official said he cannot do anything until he hears from you. I'm not sure exactly what he needs to hear, but I trust that you and he do know. As you look through the documents I have provided, please comment on any that you found doubtful or otherwise have issues with. For each one, please specifically mention the one that you have problems with. There's a list here, Block 38 and the lot, Township documentation. There are 5 of those. DNR Greenways Land Trust annual conservation visits from 2017, 2019, 2020, 21, 2022, and 2023. And then each of the Google Earth videos of the property, which I mentioned before. Oh dear, I knew this was going to happen. Okay. Then we will move on to part 3. Well, we'll move on to part 4. What I'm asking for, again, this is June 17th from me to the zoning officer. What I'm asking for is why you can't do anything about it. I have provided you with documentation proving the building did not comply with the prior zoning officer's approval, and that there was no follow-up visit by the zoning officer to confirm that the construction had complied with the approval. Then I have one from the zoning officer on June 17th to me, more referring to the satellite imagery. Andrea, I'm not stating I can't do anything. I'm asking what you want the end result to be. A question you keep avoiding. Nor is the construction official going to force the owner to take down the house. I can have him apply for a new zoning permit. I would suspect the construction official for West Amwell is going to have him apply for building permits and have the proper inspections to warrant the issues of a CO. But again, he is still going to be in the neighborhood. He is still going to live on the property. All the township can do is have him bring the property into compliance. So once again, I'm asking what you are looking for the end result to be. And then also on this, a week later, on June 26th, an email from the mayor, because I was trying to get them, our zoning official and West and East Amwell construction official to communicate. The mayor said, okay, I'm sure the construction official in West Amwell knows how to reach our zoning officer.
Andrew, could I interrupt you to ask a question? I mean, so that you're talking about, right, an item with West Amwell Construction Office, right, and they have jurisdiction. What is it that you want to ask the Township Committee?
Well, I'd just like to have you be aware of what our zoning officer does and doesn't do.
Well, I don't know, I mean, isn't this a pending matter, right? As far as I was informed, after you submitted information, we made sure he had it. He then issued notices of violation to the individual, and I'm not sure what the status is, but that's between him and that individual, right? So, I mean, our role, again, is to make sure that if residents have information or requests, that we send it to the person with jurisdiction, and that's the construction official. So far, I don't think this has run its course yet. Al, have you heard anything about this from that? I mean, I can ask Al to ask what the current status is, and we can get back to you, but, I mean, we don't have jurisdiction over that, right? So.
I guess nobody does.
No, it's and by state law,
Well,
right?
the zoning
it's a
officer
construction function.
has, evidently, he has been in, she just shared this with me last couple days, to apply for a zoning permit. And I've seen the application, and I would like to encourage you to look at the application. I'm not going to comment on it on the public record. But she has not responded to it, and it's been about 2 weeks.
She wasn't here last week.
I
She
know.
wasn't in last week.
I know.
So.
So I am going to talk to the construction official again. He was there maybe a year or two ago, I forget exactly when, and found some illegal plumbing, he told me. And he had it ripped out. But somebody is still living there and going back and forth up and down the driveway, walking the dog, riding the bicycle,
Well, I'll
driving
ask
the
Al
car.
to see what the
I'll reach out
status
to
is
West Ham.
on that, right? Because it's an ongoing matter that he has, right, at the construction office, right? And they perform that function. You know, we don't, as a township committee, we don't review files and we don't make decisions. But what we do is we try to make sure that the information is to the requisite person. But we do have liaison functions, and Al can check on status and we can get back to you.
Well, I have to say that I am hearing that a lot of people, and not just me, that people are feeling that this township committee is not really assertive enough in protecting people's property rights. And I am also heard it the other night when I was here about the garbage. Several of the attendees said they thought the township committee could have been more helpful with the garbage issue, and I'm not getting into that now, and we didn't ask for specifics, but I just hope that, you know, everybody's telling me what they cannot do, and that's very disappointing.
Well, no, what I'm trying to do is to explain to you what our role is and to ask you, in our role, what are you asking us for? So I'm not evading our
Well,
responsibility.
if you feel the zoning officer is really not doing much of a job, you might want to that's an employee issue, which would be an executive session, of course. But you might want to just listen to some people besides me and just see if you really think this zoning officer is doing the job that I was mayor of this town when we had a meaningful zoning officer, Doug Orr, and we had a meaningful, our own construction official. And things were enforced, people respected the office, and they knew they were expected to go by the law. And that is not the case anymore.
Okay, all right, so we'll ask Al to check on the status and he can report back to you. And, not following, protecting people's property rights with regard to garbage, I'll just say, again, we don't let garbage contracts, we don't control garbage pickup. And so when you requested that we advertise meetings that you were having, so residents would know what you were doing and be able to attend, we did that multiple times. So we're doing our best, even on things that are not in our jurisdiction, to try to help residents. So we'll continue to do that. Any other comments from folks? Yes, Bob?
No, well, no, I'll just be 1 minute, and because it's in response to what Andrea said. And I know it's not your responsibility, and I understand that perhaps the zoning officer has sent notifications and stuff, but this property is listed on Zillow for sale. The seller has to fill out a seller's disclosure. I think one option might be if the owner of that property does not respond to the zoning officer, that she might be able to send a letter notifying the real estate office in charge that they're in violation. And this is more for Andrea's benefit than
Okay.
you guys.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, Bob?
Bob Kirshner. I have a farm on Boss Road. I've appeared before this body before. I have returned. I'm going to report and hopefully get some clarification. There's an issue with my neighbor, Robert Monahan. He has a business, RJM Landscaping. Initially, when I appeared before this body, he was running a junkyard, which was shut down. He was found guilty of DEP violations. He appeared before the planning board, attempting to get a variance to run his landscaping business. This man also engages in chuck parts and maintains it as a hobby. Truck parts as in tractor trailers, diesels. It was a long drawn out process with the planning board, but the variance was denied. Mr. Monahan maintains that he does not operate his landscaping business at his home site. My property is contiguous to his. That's not true. I have easily 30 pictures on this phone, which I have sent to Tammy. I've met with the current zoning officer a number of times. Last time I met with Tammy, she said that she was looking for some direction. I'm assuming she would get direction from the Township Committee. To embellish this a little bit, he did stage a visit where Tammy went out and the site was clean. But if you were to look at pictures, basically every day but Sunday, there's activity. And there can be as many as 15 to 20 vehicles on the site. There are some tractor trailers that are parked. I'm not sure what that has to do with the landscaping business, but keep in mind that the variance was denied, and he's maintaining that he doesn't operate out of this site. Pictures show fertilizer being delivered, Bobcat, dump trucks with brush and trees. Mr. Monahan actually has a cameo in one of the pictures. I've been monitoring this because I obviously do not want this activity, especially in light of the fact that the variance was denied. The obvious. What happens now?
This is what we spoke about last week, right? This is the same issue we spoke about last week, you and I?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think I spoke with you a couple times as well, so.
Yeah, we've spoken as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll just recap for other folks who weren't in our conversation. The planning board decided that the type of use that your neighbor wanted was not permitted, and that he's not supposed to be operating a business. And so to the extent that you have evidence that you think shows that he's violating the planning board decision, to bring it to our zoning officials' attention, which you did, and that you would investigate. So that's where I understand that it is. I don't know if she's made a determination as to whether there are proofs that he's operating a business. As you indicated, I know she went out there and did an inspection and did not find evidence of a business being in operation. And I know you say it's because he toned it down or did something to not show that. But, I know she's looked into it. I know she's looked at the information that you sent. I don't know, Al, do you have any updates about that?
None
I mean,
whatsoever.
we can ask her about it, but, again, the Township Committee doesn't decide that issue. And in particular, I think I also mentioned to you that, the initial point that you raised was that you felt that the wall that your neighbor had built was impinging across your property line.
That's not accurate. I'm sorry.
You're not-
I'll take
okay.
responsibility.
Okay.
Perhaps you didn't understand. My bad. Perhaps I didn't explain it well. If you look at the document, and it's 27 pages, related to the variance, it indicates that that wall with the partitions that come off of the wall, it was never just a wall. Initially, it was on my property. He moved it back, so there's some confusion.
Okay.
But that's not the issue. Let me explain what the issue is.
That he's
The
using
township
as a
engineer
business.
addressed this. The township engineer said that these structures could only be there off of the wall if he was running a business. This is not just a wall. And there's pictures that shows that there's landscaping material in these bins. It shouldn't be there because the business is not supposed to be there.
So you provided that to the zoning official, so that's good. So let's have Al find out what she's concluded based on what you have.
Can I elaborate?
Sure, please.
We met with Mr. Monahan on Tuesday.
I'm sorry?
We met with him on Tuesday. He came to the office.
Yeah, I apologize. You're talking to a man who was struck by lightning. I've lost most of my hearing. My bad, okay?
Okay. Yeah, I think it's on. Is it on now? You can hear? So we met with him on Tuesday. We looked at the photos that you provided. Tammy had written a notice of violation with a 10-day deadline, which was this week, to remove anything that was associated with the business. Unfortunately, some of the pictures that you sent, a lot of the vehicles were not commercial vehicles, and they don't have lettering on it for the business. So they're private vehicles registered to Mr. Monahan. I'm not sure what enforcement we have with the township, and maybe you could elaborate, is that they're private vehicles.
I'm sorry?
They're private vehicles.
Let me speak to this. There's only one way to put this. There's a pattern here. This man has an MO. One of the pictures shows that he parks his vehicles off-site, and then he brings them back during the day. And he's smart enough now, and I'm being very, very concrete, to not have the lettering on the vehicles.
Well, that's not a commercial vehicle then. That's the rub. They're not commercial vehicles.
Wait, let's have a dialogue.
So, but unfortunately, we can't have a dialogue. This is really supposed, I mean, we've been indulgent, but this is our opportunity to hear what your concern is. So how about this? Obviously, the zoning officer is still working on it, as is the township administrator, which I wasn't aware of since you and I spoke recently. So why don't you make sure they have the information, and offline, why don't you meet with them or talk with them about what, they can give you an update, and you can tell them any additional concerns that you may have.
That's fine.
Okay, I appreciate that.
At any given time. But one last thing. These vehicles you refer to that aren't commercial, easily in the pictures, you will see 10 to 15 of the red vehicles.
Correct. Yep.
And you will also see these tractor trailers on the site, his hobby. It's common knowledge in the neighborhood that he engages in truck parts as well. So let me see if I understand. He was issued a violation which addresses what?
It addresses your photos that he's still operating a business. So some of those photos had pictures of, as you said, pallets of fertilizer. Those were not fertilizer. Those pallets were pellets for his pellet stove.
They were what?
Pellets for his pellet stove.
Pellet stove.
He
must have replaced the stove because the stove was always a wood-burning stove.
Well, that's what a pellet stove
Bob
is.
and Mark, because
Yeah,
it can't be a discussion.
Yeah.
Really, the way for us to do this is, why don't you guys meet? You come,
Okay.
come to the township.
Yeah.
and
Any
you can
given
provide
time.
all of the information that you have. Maybe, Mark, do you have his phone number?
Yeah, we have his
Okay,
contact
so,
information.
Mark, if you'd reach out to him, you
Yep.
guys schedule a time.
Absolutely.
Because that way you can convey all the information that you have. This just isn't the right venue to do
Yep.
it. It's not efficient, but they're obviously working on it, and
Can I ask one final question? The violation indicates that he's not supposed to run the business?
That's correct.
We'll see.
Thanks, Bob.
okay, yes.
Hi, Alison Castellano, East Amwell resident. Last month and earlier, you announced that you're getting a $10,000 grant from the county and are going to use it to upgrade our township website. What I didn't hear was that, as I understand it from the VIP article, that this whole project is actually going to cost $34,000. Is that correct?
No,
What was that in the VIP then?
on this typo.
Well,
Yeah.
let's allow her to make her comment instead of having,
Okay.
because I think we said in the last, it's really not a discussion forum, but once you raise all of your issues, just as a courtesy, no, that's not correct, so you know.
All right, so one question. Is your $10,000 grant going to cover the whole expense of upgrade? Yeah? Okay.
I mean,
That's the plan, but.
yeah, we're scoping out the work now, so I don't know that we can say definitively anything.
Okay, can I ask who's working on it? On what's the content
Again,
upgrade and
Again, it's not a Q&A. How about you contact the township administrator?
okay,
who-
I'll read. Okay, I'll just read
Right,
mine.
no, because he has purview over it, and then
Understood.
instead of-
Understood. I'll reach out to you.
Do you have
Um,
Allison's number? Okay.
I'll go to you after. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Everything I heard you mention earlier is content based. I didn't really hear any model changes to the website, etc. You may or may not know that our website prior to 2018 was tremendously archaic, and we decided to scrap that and start a new one, which was a huge undertaking, but resulted in our new Civic Plus site going live around September 2018. The original contract with Civic Plus cost us $7,500 for a full new website design, migration of data, all the training support we needed, and that number also included the first year of service. Then it was $3,000 a year for the next 3 years, which also included a free redesign at the end of the 4 years, around September 2022, I guess. Therefore, we paid $16,500 for a brand new modern website and 4 years of service and support with a free upgrade at the end of those 4 years. The redesign happened, I'm assuming around early 2023, because the colours changed and the model changed a little bit, fonts and everything. So I'm assuming right now we're in year 3 of another 4-year contract with Civic Plus. I was the one who originally created the site with Civic Plus in 2018. It was a massive improvement on what we previously had. There's a lot of dynamic features which could be set up, which means information updates automatically. Another great feature was to permission the likes of the committee admins, for example, to access only their sections of the website, only to add their own committee content, if necessary, with an additional approval level added, i.e. the clerk or the administrator, before going live to the public. It's my understanding that that ability for these committees to add their own content was removed somewhere around early 2023, and everything was handed to Linda, our clerk, to do, of which, understandably, she doesn't have the time to do any of that, or really only time to do her own updates and the township committee updates, which is really all she should be doing. As a result, and turnover in admins, who I assume have not really had much training, I can tell just by skimming through the site that no one really knows the extent of the capabilities of what's available to be used in this website. Information has been set up so basic in the last couple of years, and none of the dynamic features, subpages, etc. are now being used. I can tell you from my own experience that even with the full level of training, you only get to really understand and use all the features by actually using it and setting up stuff yourself. A website is only as good as its updated content to its users, and our current township website has a lot of outdated content. Small example, I used to track all the Trex plastic monthly that we would receive at the recycling depot and listed the benches we received from the time we started that project in 2018. There have been no updates made since I made my last update on the project in December 2022. You stated in your VIP article that e-commerce functionality would be added. All right, that's a good upgrade. I would like an explanation of the fees associated with paying online and what payments you're going to be allowing to be processed this way. When we looked at this originally, the huge fees to the residents far outweighed the benefit of paying online, i.e. property tax payments. You also stated it would be ADA compliance upgrades. I'd like to hear an explanation of what that includes over and above what is already doable on our existing site. So knowing the extent of what is already available to us on our website and the help and support available through our contract with Civic Plus, I am curious as to how much this is really going to cost, because if that was a typo, fine, but the VIP article stated $34,000. That would mean an additional $24,000 at the expense of the taxpayer. It's also fascinating that you found $24,000 if that, or any extra money over the $10,000 grant for this project, yet still, now, in October, have not paid Amwell Valley Ambulance Corps their annually budgeted $25,000, which they've received for decades from the township. And just a note, they have actually received every year their allocation from the other townships they serve, without question. They send them their money. East Amwell is the only township that haven't paid the squad for 3 years. You just keep moving the goalposts for them. I mean, there is no two ways about this. You asked for documentation, you asked for a letter, they gave you the letter. You asked for documentation, they gave you documentation. You asked for financial documentation, you asked for certified financial documentation. As I understand it, you've been contacted and informed that to provide certified documentation or financial documentation would cost in the region of $10,000. It would cost the squad $10,000. Is that how we want our squad money to be spent? They don't have the money to spend because you're not giving it to them. I think if you did a vote, I mean, they've been paid. This squad's been running for 65 years. You feel no guilt that you haven't paid 3 years of money to this rescue squad that save lives in our community every day. Every day. This squad goes out and saves money. And just to note, if you're going to come up with, we need the stats, well, the only stat you really need is 100% of East Amwell calls are answered. There is a mutual aid agreement in place that both Lambertville and Flemington bought into, signed off on, and are completing with East Amwell. If one of the other townships complete a call, East Amwell have to pay them a fee. I think it's $200, something like that, for an ambulance call out, just so that our residents still don't have to pay for their ambulance call out. If this all changed, and I think that's obviously what you want to do, because that's what you've been saying all along. If this all changed and it went to Flemington, they've initially quoted $50,000 to walk in the door. That was their quote, right? That's just to walk in the door. That's not to provide an ambulance at the station. That's not to provide personnel. That is just to respond to calls. It will be far more than that down the road. You know that. Everyone knows that. So I don't understand. You're kicking it down the road. Why don't you just stand up and say you just don't want to pay the money? I mean, that would be the easiest thing to do, because we all know that's the case. And you love quoting that you're saving the township, the taxpayers' money. You're not paying out a service who save lives in our town. They save lives. It's not upgrading a website and keeping information up to date. They save lives. Why is it not all of you want to look at me either? Nobody wants to look at me, right? Too busy?
No, we're listening to everything you're saying. You're way over the 10 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. No one's told me I am, so that's okay. So I think if there was a vote,
We're all just listening.
I think if there was a vote amongst the township, if they'd rather spend money on upgrading the website or give the money to the squad, I think I know which way that vote would go.
I appreciate your comments. Any other comments? I think you already went, Andrew.
I just, 1 minute.
Well, then everyone's going to ask for another minute.
Are they? Can I ask for another minute?
I won't. That's the one you
Okay.
got word.
All right, you got the last minute. Go ahead, Andrew.
Okay, I was
relying on the emails, but I'd also like to mention a conversation I had with the zoning officer, because I had referred to the approval that Krista Parsons gave to this owner to build a house on a certain spot. And there were two stipulations, one of which the barn, he had to build it on, use an existing barn. As I pointed out, there is no barn, or at least there's no legal barn. And secondly, he had to build it on the footprint of the original house that burned down. So I had a discussion with the zoning officer about what footprint meant, and I don't know what it means to all of you, but what it means to me is the same location. So the zoning officer said, oh no, footprint can mean the dimensions of the property. So I pointed out on the survey that Krista Parsons had written, must build here, with an arrow pointing to the existing site and with her initials on it. And that's all in the file. Thank you.
Okay, that's an issue for the zoning official and for the construction official. I will ask for an update.
I will reach out tomorrow. Give you my word.
Okay, and he'll let you know. Okay, so with that objection, we're closed to the public. Any other items before we adjourn? All right, seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.